Yes, folks, we've got the Darkest Shinobi mission explained. Shout out Juby Taz. We're gonna be seeing what the Darkest Shinobi mission was. I feel like most of these are gonna be like Anbu. What did they call them again? Anbu blackout
Hey
operations.
everyone,
You know what I
what's
mean?
good? Jubita is back with a new
But yeah,
video,
let's just see this
and we're
one.
going to look at which were the darkest missions of the Shinobi world. And the darkness of the hidden villages is a subject that I've discussed before in many of my previous videos, and I want to compare the evils of the 5 great nations to the Akatsuki in an upcoming video, because despite how the Akatsuki are portrayed as the bad guys from the narrative is told from the perspective of the great nations. And Naruto himself remained oblivious to the cruel nature of the hidden villages until Pain opened his eyes. Meaning that it's all about perspective.
Bro, there must have been like a famous clip, yeah, I saw of or some like them TikTok anime edits in it. But there was one I stumbled across. It was what's his name? Shisui, right? He was saying I'm gonna paraphrase here because again I don't know the fully what he said, and this might not be true, but he was like, if both sides think that they're right, how do we know who's right, or something like that. Like if both sides are fighting and they have their own view or their own definition, yeah, how do we know who's right and who's wrong? He said something like that. If you guys could if you guys see where I'm coming from, drop it down below in the comments, in it, because I think he said something along those lines, in it.
The Akatsuki only got
I think he's essentially going over that.
called out in verse.
Because bro, the story in Naruto was told from the Hidden Leaf. It wasn't really told from the Akatsuki.
Because they were rogue,
we also
and
need to
often
see things
clashed
from
with the interests of the great
viewpoints.
nations. It's not like they held the moral high ground, and in fact, the great nations have a history of issuing gruesome and depraved missions, oftentimes justified as a necessary evil for the good of the village. So today, we're going to call out the 5 great nations and look at their darkest missions. Now, if you enjoy these types of videos,
Ready to master AI.
This is the Google AI Professional Certificate.
In this course, we'll show you how you can think big
and want to be a part of the Jubita's comeback, be sure to subscribe, and let's get to it. So the thing about Shinobi is that they're meant to be the ultimate soldiers, or tools for their village. A concept that was first explored with Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the mist. He believed that ninja were the sword that the powerful used to enforce their will. And this was Naruto's first reality check to the darkness of the Shinobi world. From their birth, Shinobi are trained to become the ultimate tools for their state. And the more they advance in the Shinobi ranks, the darker and more dangerous the nature of their missions become. For example, the Anbu Black Ops was considered the most elite, and hence they were usually given the most secretive, depraved assignments, like assassinations, espionage, and mass killings. Assignments that would usually destroy the morality of the individual. This was best seen with Kakashi, where we saw him slowly lose himself and succumb to despair, that he would get the nickname Cold-Blooded Kakashi because of how cold he was in his Anbu days. He slaughtered his targets.
What do you guys think here the life of an Anbu blackout is? Like, they don't really have much of a life, when you actually come to think of it. Even with Kakashi, like Kakashi wasn't really living life until he became like, is it like a jonin, or like a regular ninja, training Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura and that. He didn't really have a life like that. Most of these guys were just hidden in the shadows, without really a care in the world. They're just sent out to carry orders and shit.
Without mercy
It's
or
pretty
hesitation.
dark, to be honest.
Because for Shinobi covered by the shadow of the Anbu, their moral compass became those close to them. They all operated in the darkness, so them becoming dark individuals is inevitable. The Anbu didn't recruit those that couldn't stomach doing depraved actions, regardless of how strong they were. Like Might Guy, for example.
Someone like my guy.
Since the job calls for a cold heart and to not get swayed by your emotions.
Someone like my guy
Kakashi is also one of the few that
Anbu.
managed to make it out of that dark life unscathed. Many didn't make it out at all and drowned in the darkness. And in the Hidden Leaf, there was this one subset of the Anbu named the Foundation or the Root, led by Danzo Shimura, which was carrying the Leaf Village's darkness. And I have went over all the crimes and scandals that Danzo caused before.
Bro,
He
Danzo is a
issued
crook,
the most
fam.
depraved
He's a
missions,
crook of the highest.
the ones that the Hokage couldn't stomach because
Bro.
he was too much of a people pleaser. However, what Hiruzen didn't understand was that empowering a man like Danzo and normalizing his actions gave him the green light to do whatever he wanted, so he could act against the Hokage's interests since he now believes he's above the law. Like when he went behind Hiruzen's back and met the former member of the Foundation who was now the head of the Konoha orphanage and the foster mother of all the children it housed. Then he used extortion to blackmail her into accepting a mission. She was to infiltrate the hidden stone and spy on it for the leaf. And Danzo wasn't done. He wanted one of the kids that lived in the orphanage to work as a spy for the Foundation as well. And the darkest
I
part
forgot his
of
name.
this
Kiba-
mission is how
Kiba?
it was
Kiba
decided from the beginning that both spies would be considered
He
a
worked for
liability
Orochimaru, though.
due to the sensitive intelligence they gathered during their mission. So the Root would use a form of brainwashing to get Nono to not recognize and kill Kabuto, hoping that
Kabuto,
it
that's
ends
the
in a
name.
mutual kill. And Orochimaru was sent to deal with whoever survived. And Kabuto got lucky that the snake had separate ambitions. And this is just one example of the depraved missions that the Foundation was behind. Almost every single mission we see issued by the Root is backhanded or morally questionable. And in the anime, we see Danzo order his Root agents to disguise themselves as shinobi from different nations and use them to steer conflict between the hidden villages. Like when he had his tools disguise themselves as stone shinobi and cause a ruckus in the rain to end the Leaf's peace talks with the hidden stone. Or when he
Bro,
sent
Danzo
his
is a
agents
wicked man.
who were dressed as foreigners in an attempt to assassinate his longtime rival, the third Hokage. Danzo groomed his followers
So wait,
so that they were the perfect.
Why would you assign your rival to a higher rank? I mean, that's saying, you know,
Tools.
what's that saying again? I'm not really. Keep your enemies close, something like that.
So that their morals
Keep your friends
wouldn't
close, but your enemies
compromise
closer.
their questionable mission
But I don't know, man.
objectives.
I don't sound
And
too smart.
similarly to the Hidden Mist, he used a mental conditioning tactic of making the graduates fight to the death, so that the winner can follow Danzo's orders without hesitation, regardless of how vile they are. Sai was a perfect example of what that system produced. He didn't have a personality, an identity,
That's what I
or
was
a
saying.
past,
Where these guys
because
they don't
having
really
any
have a
character
life.
would get in the way of him being the
It's just
perfect
they're
tool.
just machines.
He even had a curse mark on his tongue that prevented him from speaking about Danzo. Now, of course, we both know that the darkest mission that was given out by Danzo
Yeah,
was to
Itachi.
someone not necessarily in the Foundation, but an Anbu captain, the young Itachi. Danzo ordered Itachi to kill every single person in his clan,
What do you call
regardless
Itachi
of their
again?
age
Clan
or
killer.
gender, regardless of whether they were involved in the coup or not, and he tells him he could spare his younger brother just to entice him to accept this mission. And Itachi calls the masked man for some help, where Tobi goes after the Uchiha police force, and Itachi takes care of the conspirators and the civilians and his parents. However, Danzo had little will to honor their agreement, and Itachi had to blackmail him by threatening to release the secrets of the village
Oh
if he
shit, I
tried to
don't
go
remember
after
this part.
Sasuke. And even then, Danzo tried to kill Sasuke a couple of times. Now, this is a darker example of how taxing shinobi missions and responsibilities could get, and the toll
It's a good thing
usually
Sasuke
falls
took care of
on
that
the
trash. 'Cause
soldiers,
Danzo, bro,
not
Danzo
the
is a
commanding
crook, fam.
officers that ordered the most depraved assignments without getting their hands dirty. And while Danzo may be an extreme example, as he literally embodied the darkest aspects of shinobi, it's not like he was the only source of darkness for the great nations. Every nation was modeled after Konoha, so they all inherited some darkness. They all operated out of self-interest, and many times that would come at the cost of others. So let's look at the dark missions that come from the other 4 villages.
Okay, I
If we
don't
turn
think
to
we've
the
ever
west
seen this
of the Leaf
perspective.
Village
Maybe from the
to the
sand
village
village,
hidden
yeah.
in the sand,
Gaara's village.
they too issued dark missions, and the shinobi from there were no less of tools. The first mission that comes to mind is the one that traumatized Gaara,
Gaara,
who was
okay, yeah.
supposed to be the ultimate defense of the sand. However, he struggled to control the tailed beast within, And soon
I'm not gonna lie,
after,
that's crazy. Like, how old was Gara in this? Like, he was a baby. Like, he was a little chicken nugget. To be having a chicken nugget like that, you know, relying on a chicken nugget like that to defend the whole village.
the Sand Council
that's
branded
insane pressure,
him a
bro.
failure, and his father, the fourth Kazekage, decided to give him one more chance to prove he's in control, but it was far from a fair one. He wanted to see him not lose it even when pushed to his lowest, which is why he used his uncle Yashimaru, Gaara's caregiver, who's also a Sand Anbu, to assassinate Gaara. And once Gaara crushed him, Yashimaru was to recite a memorized speech given to him by Rasa, to tell Gaara that he hated him and that his mother Karura hated him as well. That Gaara was never loved.
Yo, they
that
just
he was
created
just
a villain
demon meant
for
to
no
love
reason.
himself. And I'm not sure what other outcome was to be expected. when
Imagine
Gaara
that the only person that was
completely losing it.
had the time
He
to
was
babysit
already a
you
reject
is giving
that
you a
everyone
speech nobody
feared,
likes.
and had no one but
What kind of darkness is
Yashimaru and
this?
the memory of his mother. And the darker aspect of this mission was that Yashimaru was sent there to die after devastating his nephew, reinforcing the idea of how shinobi are just tools to be used and then tossed afterwards. And this isn't the
Just
only
tossed to the
dark
side.
mission ordered by Rasa. He also sent Pakura of the Sand
shit.
on a mission to the Mist, supposedly to act as a diplomat, but little did Pakura know that she was gonna be killed to settle a score that the Mist had against the Sand. And then her death was
What?
to be
When
used for
they packed fan show?
propaganda,
I did not
or
see
even
this
Rasa's
in the actual anime.
collaboration with the highly untrustworthy Orochimaru, who no sane person would trust. Then the Kazekage sent his kids on a mission disguised as Chunin exam participants when their true goal was to assist in the invasion of Konoha from within, and they wanted to release the Shukaku onto the village. And Baki was leading the
Chunin
mission,
exam is
following
forget
Orochimaru's
Naruto,
will
like,
without
that's the
even
best. That's
acknowledging
one of the
that
best
the
parts of anime.
Kazekage was killed in secret.
Chunin exam,
So it
like,
was the depravity of the Sand
She was
Village
special.
that allowed Orochimaru to use them like that.
When playing games on PC, do you ever wonder if someone had a clip with you in it?
Download Metal, then go to Albums, Clips are in.
And if we turn our attention east to the village hidden in the mist, then the missions get even darker. It wasn't called the Bloody Mist Village for no reason. It was known for producing some of the most skilled assassins of the great nations. And the Mist also had the brutal graduation ritual, which
Yeah,
meant that
that's how
most of its
Zabuza came
shinobi
through.
were ruthless killing machines. The Mist was also very closed off to the outside world, and they had zero tolerance to any dissent. One
Out
bear-
of all the villages, yeah, is the Mist Village like the worst one? The one just full of pure darkness, like, because the Sand Village, what they made Gaara go through was a bit, you know, crazy. But outside of Gaara, like, I mean, it was okay. Like, I mean, they did have Deidara drop by, and then Deidara, he did do his thing. Like, he caused destruction over there. I feel like after the Leaf Village, yeah, I would say, what's his name? You know, Rock Lee's village. I would say his village is alright. I would say those two are like the most like
very dark mission that comes to
alright
mind
cities,
is the one
villages to live in.
assigned to Kisame by Fuguki, where Kisame was to
Because
protect
the Mist Village
members
was,
of
it
the
sounded like
Cypher
it was just
Corps
pure
who were not
darkness.
shinobi, but
Again,
just
like it sounded like they were
diplomats.
just wiping out
However,
folks.
the priority of
just
the
for the
mission
feeling.
was not the safety of the Cypher Corps, but to ensure that the secrets of the hidden mist remain hidden. And since the non-combatant Cypher Corps members would talk immediately if captured, Kisame had to kill every member in order to prevent them from being captured alive. And this is why Kisame was known as the Scourge of the Mist. And once he found out that his superior was leaking intelligence either way, Kisame became disillusioned with the cruel duality of the shinobi world. He felt like he'd killed his comrades for no reason. And ever since then, Kisame viewed himself as an irredeemable monster. He was the ultimate tool for his state. He knew that the world was full of lies and double standards, and Obito managed to recruit him because he was the first one truthful to him, even revealing the face he hid behind that mask. And Kisame would become his most loyal follower. Now, given the notorious reputation the Mist had, I would imagine they've issued a lot more dark missions, Like
That's
the
what I'm
assignment
saying,
of
like, the
kidnapping
Mist
Rin
Village
and
was-
sealing
whew.
the three tails inside of her and releasing it once she was back in the
Mist Village
confines
might
of
have
the
been,
village.
bro, the
Though
most
Madara took credit for this
hellish,
assignment, so I don't know if
witchcrafty,
you can blame the Mist for it.
darkest village of
And
them all.
moving north to the clouds, which was known as a power-hungry, belligerent force that was always looking for new abilities to steal from the other nations. We know that during the peace treaty with the Leaf, the Cloud sent its head shinobi to the peace ceremony with an ulterior mission. He was to secretly kidnap the 3-year-old Hinata Hyuga and return her to the Cloud so they could possess her eyes. Now, kidnapping a little girl to gouge out her eyes is beyond depraved.
Yeah, that's insane.
And we know that this
When
isn't
he actually
an
mentions that,
isolated
bro.
incident because a couple years back, the Hidden Cloud did the same thing. And 3 Cloud Shinobi showed up on a mission to kidnap Kushina when she was young. So who knows how many other little girls with special abilities that
Why
were
they all
kidnapped
go,
by
bro?
the Hidden
What kind
Cloud.
of? That's how
We
minutes were
also know
saved,
that way
innit?
back
But
in
bro,
the day, the Cloud sent some of
kind of
its shinobi
PDF
to
file
capture the Nine
action
Tails,
does the Cloud
which
Village
isn't
stuff
as
going on?
dark as the previous 2 missions, but shows that the Cloud has been looking for new powers to enhance their abilities
Is
since
that,
their founding days. Now, if we were to move
Killer
to
Bee's
the
village,
Stone,
yeah.
which is the most obscure of the 5 great nations, so it's hard to find as many popular examples of dark missions, but we do have that one event in the Third Great War when the Stone invaded the Hidden Grass and used it as a front against the Leaf. Because invading a sovereign uninvolved nation almost inevitably leads to the death of a lot of innocents. We're not told of the toll to the Grass Village itself, but it can't be negligible given that they were fully invaded. We also have the tragedy of the Yosuga Pass in the anime, where the
Okay.
Hidden Stone Shinobi were sent to help the Hidden Mist Ninja. However, their secret mission was to betray and kill their mist counterparts so they could steal the spoils of the war for themselves. And we also know that the stone used the Akatsuki on occasion for missions that the village didn't want to be publicly involved with. So yeah, definitely a lot of sketchy
Yeah,
assignments.
bro. In the
but
Naruto
still
world,
far
there
from
was-
the darkest
bro, there was a
missions
lot of
issued by a
darkness
hidden
going on.
village. It's hard to rank these villages in terms of how evil their missions were, but I believe that all the great nations had the same potential for evil. That's what happens when you try to survive and justify all of your wrongdoings as necessary evils for the good of the state. And now, I'm finally done discussing the darkest shinobi missions of the 5 great nations, which consisted of missions such as kidnapping, killing your comrades, murdering the innocent, backstabbings, and genocide. So if you compile the darkest missions from across the hidden villages,
Belief,
then you
probably.
could see why that comparison with the Akatsuki is warranted. The Akatsuki themselves were born out of the depravity of the great nations. Let's not forget that they were a peacekeeping troop at first, until they realized that the world wouldn't listen to them if they kept operating with these naive ideals. And the truth is that those are just the darkest missions that we're told of. It's very likely that there were many missions like this that happened off screen. All of the great nations hated each other for a reason. Though, if you guys think that I missed any dark mission, then please be sure.
Nah. So, bro, that's gonna wrap things up. But man, honestly, when you actually do think about it, the Naruto world, I can't believe that I compared it to like One Piece. Nah, I can't do that. Like the way folks were getting deleted, that merciless unaliving going on, man. Like folks were really ruthless, and yeah, there was a deep rooted grudge among like the villages. I feel like out of all the villages, the Leaf villages was the most, or the village that had its missions documented the most, and it makes sense because most of the main characters come from the Leaf. But man, this guy right here, Tubi
to let me know
actually
in
does
the
make a good point, bro. There must have been a lot of missions like that were documented. There must have been a lot more that weren't documented going on across the different villages. It's true, man. Especially that Mist village. That Mist village, I know, was just pure darkness. Named Mist for a reason. Like, even the name gives it away. You can kind of imagine, like, sun don't really shine much over there, does it? Just pure darkness, man. But yeah.